Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Causery. This is your host, Val Stamp, and today's topic is going to be about something I'd say a little controversial, a little familiar. Let me get right into it. So, it's going to be about envy. Ooh. All right, so um, let's just talk about what is envy, right? We hear this word all the time, but we really don't sometimes actually know what it might mean. So let's take a look. So according to Wikipedia, envy is an emotion which occurs when a person lacks another's quality, skill, achievement, or possession and wishes that the other lacked it. That's pretty deep. So there's a little bit more. Aristotle defined envy as pain at the sight of another's good fortune. Wow. That's pretty deep. I mean, I honestly can say that I've never thought of envy in that way. It's actually something I've never honestly thought about because I'm not necessarily a person that has experienced this emotion throughout my life. Um, Not that I haven't ever been jealous or anything, but it's not necessarily something that I can say I've honestly struggled with. Um, I guess call it self absorbed or whatever it may be, but I've never been the type of, I guess, human to be super focused on what others are doing. So let's see what else is out there in terms of what the proper definition of envy is going to be. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, right? Hear this out. It says painful or resentful awareness of an advantage enjoyed by another joined with a desire to possess the same advantage. So let's kind of nail down what we have kind of in terms of definition. So clearly it's, pain at the sight of seeing someone else's, I guess, good fortune or fruits of labor or just something positive happening to another person that you essentially feel should be happening to you. That's in a nutshell what envy could be. Now, there's different types of envy. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Like when I started researching for this episode, I ran across this phenomena that apparently there's good envy and bad envy. When overall envy I thought was kind of bad, but let's get into it. So there's this thing called malicious envy, which is essentially wanting the person that you envy to kind of check out. So that's, I want to say, the bad envy, right? And then there's another side, benign envy. Uh, so essentially, if you're an envious person, you're either going to be a malicious envious person or a benign envious person. So it's kind of up to you what you're kind of feeling internally, right? So let's get into it. Obviously, malicious envy is the type of envy that we would want to stay away from. Typically, this is something that's going to entice someone who is feeling these feelings of envy to harm, physically harm, or to, slander, or just to try and cause another person pain, right? This is some type of destruction, right? Of an inward feeling that you want to essentially express in an outward form to someone physically, So this is very dangerous. This is, I guess, I want to say grounds for uh getting maybe the cops called on you or something like that. So I would not recommend, highly not recommend. So benign envy is simply, I guess, the feeling of, I guess the realization is the right word, of understanding that you're feeling envious, but instead kind of turning it around and turning it into something positive, right? So Actually, a good point. This is the type of envy that I can honestly say that I've probably felt throughout my life. So, if you're feeling feelings of benign envy, essentially you're understanding that you're feeling envious, but you don't want to harm the person that's having good fortune or that something positive is happening to them. Instead, you're happy for them and you're kind of using them as inspiration, right? So, trying to figure out, hey, Sally got a new car and I really would love to have a new car too. My car is super old. It's like 14 years old and I have to put water in the engine just to get it started every day. Actually, that's a true story that happened to me with my first car. I bring it up sometimes, but I don't want to talk about it today. Anyway, let's move on. I like to get off topic, but I'm reeling myself in. So, using Sally's good fortune as kind of inspiration is a good thing. I want to say that's the type of good envy, right? Benign envy, because you're actually using something else that is someone else's good fortune, better yet, that is creating this internal feeling of lack as inspiration, right? So the goal here is to connect the pieces and kind of do some internal work to figure out, hey, what do I need to do so that I can get a new car just like Sally? You see, sometimes we see the fruits of others, like of other people's labor, and we don't really know the full story. We don't really know how hard or how many years or all of the obstacles that they've had to overcome or all of the health issues or family issues or whatever the case might be. So it's kind of also unfair to people if you're just envious instead of getting to know the full picture and being happy for them. Now we're going to talk about who could potentially be envious towards you and what makes you a target. So, obviously, we're going to go down the list. So, who's potentially going to be someone who might be envious of you for absolutely no reason, just other than the fact that they have some type of proximity towards your life and kind of get a first class seat to see all of the things that are happening with you? I guess it's definitely going to be your friends, also family, colleagues, and maybe an acquaintance or so. So, typically, people that can feel feelings of envy are connected with some type of relationship towards people. So, it's very difficult to feel envy towards people that we don't know. Actually, we see it all the time. We see celebrities all over the news, TV, social media, the radio, and they have tons of things that we don't have, right? The rich and the famous. But we follow them on Instagram. We like all their TikTok posts. We actually subscribe to their YouTube channels instead of subscribing to the causerie because we love them, even though they have what we lack. And the reason is there isn't a connection there. We don't actually know them in person. So this doesn't evoke a feeling of envy. However, if you and Beyonce were cousins, I bet none of her cousins, if they're feeling feelings of envy, are going to congratulate B. That's just probably the sad truth of what's happening. So yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be those closest to you, which falls into the category of friends, family, colleagues at work, people that you're going to frequent, on a regular basis, that are going to have a little bit more access to your life. Now, I guess what can kind of lead for them to feel this way? So typically, when people are part of the same friend group or the same family, or they work together, there is a bond there is a connection, there is a feeling of one in the same. So when someone is experiencing some type of good fortune or having progress in other areas of their life that unfortunately a specific individual isn't having, that can evoke feelings of envy because, hey, aren't we part of the same family? Aren't we at the same job? I mean, we're the same, aren't we? So you know, why does Sally have a new car? I don't get it. I should have a new car too. And maybe I'm more attractive than Sally. I deserve this new car. So, how can you identify who is envious in your life? It's going to be tough. I mean, they're not going to come out directly and say, oh, you know, Sally, I am very, very envious. I am extremely jealous of you. Actually, I'm just a full on hater. That's never going to happen. I mean, it would be great, it would save a lot of time, but it's just not going to happen. So there's this theory out there, all over TikTok and social media, that talks about the concept of monitoring spirits. This is like a theory, right? This gets into kind of like a different spiritual, kind of non-mainstream form of thinking, right? Because I love, love, love exploring all theories and possibilities, right? Because we don't necessarily live in a one-dimensional world. So we know, but we don't know. Who knows? So, monitoring spirits are apparently people who keep an eye on you, but from a distance, because they want to see what you're up to, but they never want to get close enough that they have to actually engage with you to congratulate you. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. It kind of gives me stalker vibes. Like, why are you even. It's actually kind of like when you are constantly looking at somebody's Instagram stories and then they make a post and you never, ever, ever like them because you're just not happy for them. You just want to see what they're up to. That's kind of maybe what a monitoring spirit might be, at least my interpretation of it. So, according to this theory of the monitoring spirit thing, it's that they want you to overshare because they secretly want to hinder your progress by sending you bad vibes or bad energy that's going to prevent you from accomplishing a goal. Now, is this hoodoo? Is this voodoo? Is this nonsense? I don't know. It's just a theory on the internet. And honestly, can we even believe everything that's on the internet? I don't know. Now, here's where we're going to get into the good stuff, the positive stuff, the stuff that you're actually coming here to watch this video to take from it. Yeah. So, according to Charles Darwin's 1859 book, right, Advancing the Theory of Evolution by Natural Selection, right? If you ever got around to reading this book, you would know that being envious is part of one of the horrible things of being a human, unfortunately. And it's probably associated with something that has to do with natural selection by trying to stay alive. So essentially, it's whether you're the person receiving envious attitudes or feelings from other people, or you're the person who's feeling envious, this is probably not going to go away. Unfortunately, you were just dealt a bad set of genes that incorporated these feelings of envy. I mean, I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me on that. I don't even know if it's possible to inherit envy genes, but I think there's probably a study out there, and if there is, maybe I should look into it and get back to you guys. But essentially, it's just part of being a human. Now, the good part is that now that we've identified that, we have to kind of understand. I think the biggest part of this episode is understanding the difference between malicious envy and benign envy. And we always want to gravitate towards the benign envy area, okay? Never, okay, just try to stay away from malicious because you're probably going to end up in jail at some point, maybe. I mean, things can escalate really quickly that's another conversation. Just leave it alone. Stick with the benign envy and you're going to get through, okay? Now, if you're someone who's experiencing these feelings, right? Um and you're feeling more malicious. Like you're upset that Sally has the car, you want to slash her tires. Don't do it. It's time. Use this as as a moment, right? As a moment in your life journey to have an internal conversation with yourself, right? And truly try to understand what exactly is going on. What internally are you dealing with that's making you feel that you're lacking something, or that you're not exactly where you're supposed to be, or where you think you should be at this point in your life? And instead, reflect on that and be proactive about it. I am a very big advocate of therapy, just going to get a checkup, at the doctor. Sometimes our hormones can be off, and that has an impact on your mental health. There's so many options of things that could be happening, or maybe it could be some type of unhealed trauma. The point is that this is an opportunity to have that internal dialogue with yourself and try to get an understanding of what's going on inside, because it's all inside. It starts from within, right? So your thoughts fuel your actions, and your actions become your reality. It is possible that there is some non there's a link missing between your thoughts and your actions, right? Because if that's not connecting, we have to kind of get to the root of the cause. So I always say use this as an opportunity, do the internal work, and heal. And this is when you can begin to move towards actually feeling happy for others, and instead saying, "Hey, I know Sally. We work together. She's a very hard worker. She's been saving up for this car for like 10 years. She deserves this car. And although I have to take 4 buses every day just to get to work, you know, I'm happy for her. My time will come." And usually it always does. We have to remember that life is a journey. And, there's always this constant, go and pull and back and forth. We're not always going to be where we want to be. But you have to understand that you're a unique individual. There is no one in this world that is you. You're the only person that is living this reality in this moment. No one ever is going to be in competition with you, even if they're trying to be in competition with you, because we're not all in the same race. So understand that your journey is solely yours. You're never, ever going to be late for anything that belongs to you, because it is part of the journey. And always remember, if there's something that you feel that you're lacking, you can just, with your thoughts, begin the process of turning things around. Begin the process of making the small changes that are going to lead to the biggest change of all, right? Getting that car, or buying that house, or marrying the person of your dreams. So essentially, that's kind of what I found out so far about envy. I think it's a great topic. Remember, these are just touching on points. I always encourage you to do more research. If this is something that you're struggling with personally, definitely do more research. Uh, you know, if you have any input, or if you did struggle with this and you were able to overcome it, we would love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, comment, click like, and share, because we're trying to grow this community so that we can, cover way more interesting topics, and maybe have some interviews or something. All right, guys. So I'll see you next time. This is your host, Val Molina. We'll talk to you soon.